Hey, what's up, everybody? Better late than never, right? I know some people are already speed running this game in like an hour, and I'm going to spend half that just explaining my build. But I wanted to spend some quality time with the game, kind of learn what I was talking about before just passing along any old thing to you guys, and this is what I came up with. Now, instead of showing you some uber powerful in-game build, I thought I'd just walk you guys through how I developed this character and what I picked and why I picked it. Starting with the starting weapons. Notice I went with the Kusarigama and went with the sword. And those are with a particular armor set in mind, which we'll talk about. And then for the Guardian Spirit, I always go with the Daibawashi. Not only for the +1 to skill, which is one of my two primary damage stats, but also because he's just a really cool bird with really swag hair. And he gives you cool passive bonuses to start the game with. In fact, speaking of that, once we get through the tutorial and get to our first actual mission area on the beachfront here, we'll get enough to drop a point into something. What I like to do is unlock this first little bonus with your Guardian Spirit. It'll show you how much spirit is required to unlock all these different bonuses. At 11, you can unlock everything with the Daibawashi. But at 6, you get this plus 20% equipment drop rate. That's extra armor and weapons to start the game with. I'm totally down with that. I like watching loot drop like I'm playing Diablo out of these enemies when I kill them. So I drop 1 point into that first, and then we'll start worrying about some of the other stuff. We'll go ahead and, do some fighting, kind of get accustomed to the game. And once we get some more Amrita or experience points, kind of like souls are in the Dark Souls games, we can level up a few more times. Then I'll start putting some points in other stuff. Now the body stat, this is interesting. The first point gives you 40 health. The next 4 points will give you 35 health. After that, it drops off dramatically. From 11 through, I think, like 25, it gives you only 25, and then I believe it starts going down from there. I don't know, haven't gone that far, I don't worry about it. The soft cap for body, for me, unless my weapon scales specifically off of that, if I was using an axe, which I stay away from, that's not very ninja-like. I built this around the Kusarigama and notably the single sword specifically for a reason. Wanted to be a ninja in this game. That's the idea of this build. And so I'm not investing a bunch in body. In fact, I'm gonna cap my body off at 10. Now, for those of you that say the Iga Jonin Ninja set requires 12 body, that's true and not true. If you craft it yourself, it only requires 6. And we'll look at that later. So what I'm gonna do now, if you'd rather have that armor earlier and just wear what drops for you, then drop 2 extra points in the body, that's fine. It's not like this is, set in stone right here and you can't add 1 point here and 1 point other. Notice I'm going to use almost no magic in this game other than some few random talismans, and I have no points invested in the magic. You might want to use some stuff. You might be a fan of sloth, which I'm definitely not. I don't respect sloth at all. But let's say you like that, you might need to invest some points in the magic. Well then do that, obviously. This is a foundation, but this is, to me, a Kusarigama ninja build that takes advantage of all the damage opportunities you have with that and a single sword as your primary and secondary weapons. So, that in mind, we get to our starting area after our first mission, and you have some access to the blacksmith, sell some stuff, whatever. Not really much to craft yet, but start finding some shinobi stuff, especially once you get to your first dojo missions and things like that, and start wearing that because, I like looking like a ninja. And honestly, if you're wearing other gear right now, you can use the refashioning tool to make your other gear look like ninja gear once you've got the shinobi gear unlocked. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting up to a certain point, completing a certain mission, and certain clothes will become available to you. I guess clothes that are specific to enemies that you fight during that mission. Anyway, stuff like that. But anyways, you carry through the game, and as you're unlocking these, now with the ninjutsu, it's what do you find useful? Like, I like the shuriken. The stars are really weak early and much stronger later. Then you've got fire shuriken that can actually cause a fire status effect on enemies. That comes in really handy if you're using, say, water talismans, which makes enemies more susceptible to all the other elements. So let's say you buff your weapon with a water talisman, which you can get without any investment whatsoever in magic. All you need is a magic point, which you can get from using up some mage's locks. For example, they have samurai, ninja, and mage's locks. They're like little locks of hair that you find. They give you points in your skill trees, and you can go in there and drop a point into water talismans, then 1 into fire, 1 into earth, 1 into lightning, and you'll have them available. So if you know you're going to fight a boss that's based on fire, unlock some water talismans or vice versa. Stuff like that. But if you have water talismans and you have some, say, fire shuriken and some fire bombs, you can basically debuff them with water, and once they're fully debuffed, you'll see a little gauge working its way up. And once it maxes out, start throwing fire bombs at them. Or switch to a fire talisman, for example, or earth or lightning or anything else. Just, something to keep in mind. And so you don't need to exploit all the, what I consider kind of cheap magic stuff. You can get familiar with your weapon and do a lot of work with your weapon. You really can, just your weapon. I mean, anyway, it's basically any play style you want is open to you. But this is with the ninja build in mind. And this worked plenty good for me. Now with 11 points in spirit, which is what I basically do next. I get it. Go ahead and cap that off at 11 before anything else, really. Maybe drop a point to dex, point to skill. I mean, those are your basic attack stats, but they're not going to make a huge difference. But having your guardian spirit fully unlocked means he's going to last longer. He's going to be more durable. Maybe do a little more damage and give you all those passive buffs that he gives you. In this case, the Daibawashi with that last one, you gain 400 health back as soon as living weapon ends. Meaning that, say you're about to die and you pop off living weapon, when the living weapon goes away, you're going to get 400 health back, which may almost fully heal you really early in the game. So just something to keep in mind. Anyway, so I get my spirit to 11, and then we start slowly, dropping a point in here and there. Like I say, I cap my body off at 10. I cap heart off at 15. You get 2 ki per point of heart, and then after that, you only get 1. And so I consider the soft cap for heart at 15. It is a minor damage scaling stat for the single sword. I also believe it's a minor damage scaling stat for twin swords, but that's not viable here. We have to have the Kusarigama and the single sword for this build to take advantage of the armor, and we'll take a look at that later. Right? We're eventually going to get our spirit up to 15 also when we unlock our next guardian spirit. But that's going to be later in the game too. I think that's the 3rd or the 4th region where you unlock the mission for that. Okay? Now here, notice this. See where it says change to attack skill? I want that on my primary weapon. So what I'm going to want to do, as soon as I find a weapon with that, change to attack skill. I want that for my sword specifically. I don't need that for my Kusarigama. It's already got like a B+ rating. Okay, but I do want that for my single sword in case I decide to use it, because it's got like a C or a D rating for skill. And skill is going to be my other primary damage stat. So what that turns that into is a primary damage scaling stat for that weapon. As long as it's already got skill as a scaling stat, now it's just going to raise it to A. So that actually scales better with skill than my Kusarigama does now. But my Kusarigama scales with dex, which is my primary ninja skill. So what I'm going to use is skill and dexterity both as my primary damage stats. I'm not really worried about body and heart. Those have like D scaling. They're kind of irrelevant. Once I can get that passive buff on my sword, my Kusarigama kind of stands on its own. I'll pick something else to pass along to my Kusarigama. Probably something like damage from behind or whatever. But once I get body at 10, heart at 15, spirit at 15, then basically everything else goes into skill and dex. Now for the Iga Ninja armor, which is what we're going to be going for later, I am going to have to drop 1 point into stamina to keep us in the agility bonus. And what that means is you need to stay super light, kind of like you're fast rolling in Dark Souls. You want to stay super light, and your little number will be blue where it shows your equipment load, and it basically anything under 30% or less, and that gives you an A agility bonus. And that is going to actually give us a damage bonus with the armor set that we're looking to get, which is going to come a little later. We're going to have to actually find the ability to make that armor, and that's going to come through the dojo missions in the, the 3rd area. And after one primary main mission, what we'll do is we'll unlock the Adept Ninja dojo training and basically farm that. Kick that dude's ass over and over again until he drops you the schematics for your Kusarigama, for your sword, and for your Iga Jonin ninja set. We're going to want those. And for this next Guardian Spirit, the aya-komori, and notice all of those bonuses that it gives you are basically ninja related. Agility, damage bonus, damage from behind, extra attack, stuff like that. He requires 15 spirit to fully unlock, and he comes from the Conspirators submission. And that's, I believe, in the 3rd or 4th region, whatever region we're in here. Okay, so that'll come later in the game. I just basically do everything. I mean, why not? If it's there for you, it's going to unlock all kinds of stuff. You're going to learn gestures. If you're going for the trophies, you're going to have to do all that stuff anyway, because you're going to find little hot spas, right? The little hot springs and things to rest in and all that kind of stuff. If you want to rest in all those, find all your little kodama, which is great for you. The more kodamas you have, the more elixirs you can carry and the more passive bonuses you can get in your shrine, like different equipment drop rates, elixir drop rates, material drop rates, and stuff like that. Anyway, this is the guy from the Ninja Adept. You can also do it on Veteran, but he will drop the schematics for you on Adept, so you can just keep kicking his ass here, and he will eventually drop you a schematic for everything. Yes, he will drop all 3 schematics on Adept. And what you want is a schematic for his set, so you don't have to invest a bunch into body, unless you already have. You want the schematic for his armor, so that it only requires 6 body, and I think 6 heart, to wear it, instead of 12. And he'll also drop the schematic for the Kusarigama and drop the schematic for the sword. Anyway, you need all of those to get to take full advantage of the set bonus. Let's see, here you go. That's and notice the head of the Iga Ninja. And that's it. And so it'll show that set bonus on all the different equipments and stuff. Anyway, so Iga Jonin apparel. And notice down at the bottom, body required and skill required at the very bottom. 6 and 6 instead of 12 and 12 if you craft it yourself. That's why I waited. I didn't want to drop those extra 2 points in the body. That's a point in skill and point in dex. That's a couple extra points of damage. Well, that's no big deal. Well, that's fine. Do your thing. That's how I did it. So like I say, it's flexible. You know, this isn't set in stone. I just found this to be effective, and sometimes I think patience pays off in a game. A couple extra points towards damage and you can still wear the equivalent armor. I'll take that. Okay, now as far as stats that you're looking for on your armor, anything that reduces key usage for dodge roll, evade, things like that. I believe your gauntlets, I haven't found it on any other piece of armor. I'm not saying you can't find it, but I haven't found it on anything other than the gauntlets, but you can get an attack stat from your gauntlets. I believe the gauntlets that I made here, I finally managed to get just basic attack, but it'll also raise your attack and defense based on a certain weapon type. In this case, it'll just be probably just sword or the Kusarigama. Since I'm primarily using the Kusarigama, I probably would have preferred that. You know, attack and defense raised, and then in parentheses, Kusarigama. I didn't, it just said attack. But that's cool. It raised my attack by like 10 points or whatever. And on your weapons, grapple damage is going to come in handy if you have that skill unlocked in either of your weapon trees. Grappling, I would strongly recommend that. When an enemy's out of key, they'll be stunned, staggered, standing there out of breath, and you grapple them and you hit them for basically a backstab. Final blow, which is when you knock them down on the ground and you can backstab them. And then I guess backstabbing, sneak attacks can count as final blow too, I guess. The damage is similar. And anything that can give you a bonus for agility, or a bonus for a particular, like on your sword, you know, attack adjustment for skill specifically for your sword, for example. Damage from behind is great. Any of that stuff, any ninja type stuff. But here's where my stats sit at level 54. Notice I've got my A agility bonus. It required putting 1 point into stamina. The Iga Ninja gear is just too heavy to give you an A agility with 5 stamina. You have to drop a point into there. I didn't see any way around it. But that's cool. Now, these are my basic stats at level 60. Everything else from this point forward should go into skill and or dex. Preferably probably both. If you're just going Kusarigama, then you're probably good with just dex. But your skill counts almost as much for your Kusarigama. And it also counts for your sword too if you decide to use that. And since you're getting a damage bonus based on your ninjutsu, if you're just using your sword, I would still put points into dex for your sword because you're getting a damage bonus on everything you do for your ninjutsu power with the Iga Ninja set. Then you're getting an agility damage bonus for having an A agility. You're getting an A agility damage bonus for your A agility with your Guardian Spirit. And then anything else that you have into your gear. And so everything, if you've ever heard me say this like in our streams or in other build videos, pick a path and stick to it. In other words, pick a direction you're going to go. I'm going to be a damage dealer, and these are the particular stats that I'm going to key on. When possible, everything around your stats and your gear should cater to that particular thing that you're trying to do. And I think you'll find it to be effective. Now here, notice I have up to this point at levels, what am I, 60 or 64 here? And I'm using almost no buffs. Maybe a basic talisman with no points invested in on-meal magic, so my talisman probably isn't benefiting me as much as it could. Not sure about that, how it scales with on-meal magic. Like, say I hit her for a bonus 30 for fire damage. Maybe if I had more points in magic, it might hit her for 40 or 50. Not sure. Don't know about that. Regardless, I've got a power pill, and I've got my basic talisman, and then I've got my weapon, and I try to get good with it. And notice I'm not the best. But she didn't one-shot me. And that's, I kind of want to include some of these basic boss fights here that I did manage to solo. This is my level. In fact, I'm a little over for this. I think my character's either 60 or 64 here. She's 55. This is considered level 55 or 60 missions. So we're right there. But some later stuff in the 80s and 90s, I thought we'd go ahead and get into that and see if it just becomes unmanageable. And I can still not only take a hit in basic light armor, which my light armor, I think it's still leveled around between 60 and 60, say 4-ish. Each piece is a little bit different, but it's roughly there. And I think my weapons are up around the 70s or 80s now. I've been keeping my weapons up with myself. It's easier to craft one simple good weapon than it is to craft an entire set of armor, because the Iga Ninja armor requires you to use these spider leg husks, and you have to farm the spider nest castle for those. And to make a full set, and you don't want to make a set unless you're getting the full 4 buffs on each piece, meaning that it's at least purple or what is it, exquisite quality or whatever it's called. Notice there's my backstab for a total of almost 4 grand, 800 something, 2,500 something. So here's this bitch. Any of you fought her? Maybe you guys had an easy time with her. She gave me the blues. Notice my evidence of my dead body is lying over there. I'm trying to go pick it up and she won't let me. Anyway, showing that we can take some hits and we can do our fair share of damage with basic damage stats. Everything from this point forth, what you see here with my character, is all damage going up from here. Like, say if we were level, what is this mission? I think this mission is level 85, 80, something like that. Anyway, whatever it is, if we were in our 80s, 90s, or even level 100, that means we'd have another, what, 15 points? 15 to 20 points each in skill and dex. And I don't know exactly how that would scale, but every point we put, especially into dex, with our agility bonus, ninjutsu bonus, and whatever else going on. Well, agility is primarily our weight and stuff, but all that plays together. The ninjutsu power bonus and anything we get off dex and all that, I mean, it all plays in and it all factors together. Main thing is I wanted synergy with the primary things that we invested in between all of our gear, weapons, armor, and whatever else. If we could find a damage buff or stat, then we did that. So everything from this point forth, mainly the point that I'm trying to make, is damage from here on out. And so this is a basis to work from. Now from this point, if you followed this guide at all, then you might consider dropping some points into magic if you wanted to use that. You might want a different spirit. I personally wouldn't. I like this particular spirit because your living weapon gauge fills really, really fast. And this isn't the unlimited infinite living weapon build or any of that. That comes through wearing special charms and stuff, and that can apply too. You can put 2 charms together and basically have 25 to 30% of your living weapon gauge filled all the time. I think it's called Amrita Gauge Edition something something. Anyway, if that's the way you want it. There's lots of different things you can do, but this was a foundation. This was a basis. You could lean on your sword instead of the Kusarigama. I had a lot of fun with this weapon. I like the ability to grab from range, swing quickly, switch quickly. The assassination moves are really quick. It's kind of like a really cool. It's kind of like a guillotine type thing. I had a lot of fun with it. But this is just as viable for your simple katana, if you just want to just use your sword, or both, And that's the beauty about this, is both weapons benefit off these stats. Even your katana benefits from Dex because you've got your ninjutsu power bonus, and every point you put into Dex raises your ninjutsu power. Plus, you've got like plus 50 ninjutsu power built into your gear, and if you can manage to get that to when you're forging or reforging your equipment, if you can manage to get that to pop up too, I don't know if it does, but if you can, that's even more. So anything you can do for ninjutsu power, whether it's in your charms, on your equipment, built into your Iga Ninja set, all that stuff, it's good for you. This guy is, I believe, 91 or 95, and we're still 64. I capped off at 64. I just stopped there because I had basically everything where we needed it. Had my stuff, had basic gear set up for it, and I wanted to do some running around and seeing if this was really viable and seeing where we could go. Basically got through everything in this area, and I was like, you know, this is doable here. In fact, this is a boss you've already fought on another mission, and he's just a little buffed right here. He's leveled up, son, and we were able to take a hit from him, and we were able to kick his ass with essentially no stuff, no sloth. We didn't buff ourselves 15 times. We didn't need to use steel talismans for defense. A simple power pill and a simple talisman, and then some other ninja tools. Caltrops come in handy. They don't slow down the enemy's attack speed. It's essentially slows down their walking and running speed. They can still kick your ass. They just kind of stroll towards you instead of sprinting at you sometimes. But when you're dealing with bosses, sometimes they'll get stuck in a moveset, and they can do that regardless, which is not the case with Sloth. With Sloth, they just become snails, and I think that's kind of unfair, kind of cheap. I think it hurts you in getting good at the game, in my opinion. It's great for speedrunners, I guess, who need to get through a boss really quick, to have the boss just standing there and taking it, you know, like a bitch. But as far as a good, solid fight, I've found that as cheap as some of these boss battles have seemed, and as cheap as a couple of them actually really are, I still call them cheap. They're still doable. And even if some of it is a little RNG, you know, luck-based, you hope they don't spam together a certain moveset back-to-back because it's unavoidable. You know, it happens, but other than that, they're still doable, both with a friend and by yourself. And this build showed me that it was more than up to the task, so to speak. This guy right here, this guy gave me some drama. If you notice, I have almost no Amrita left. I didn't spend it, I lost it on this bitch. He killed me several times in a row just because I'm no good. I don't know this boss very well. But we managed to get through him. And I don't think it was my lack of damage output. Like I say, these are just basic attacks. And if we had leveled up to match this guy 20 or 30 more times, I think he's level 90, 91, I think. Maybe 95. Maybe 98, I don't know. Something, he's in the 90s somewhere. Anyway, had we leveled up 30 more times to meet this guy, we'd probably be putting thousands on his ass. And that, remember, the Kusarigama does not hit as hard as the sword per hit. It counts on lots of smaller hits rather than one bigger hit for the most part, especially when you're swinging the metal weight. So you're not going to get as big a numbers as you would with the sword. You're just going to get more of them. Does it all balance out? Probably. Probably does. So that you see 4s and 5s instead of thousands and 1500s. I think I backstabbed with my katana with this build at one point, like for like 5300, something like that. Don't remember what enemy it was, but I never did that with the Kusarigama. It would do like 2 hits from a backstab, and I think you saw that earlier. It was like what, 2500 and 800. I think the sword might be more viable for backstabs because it's more single shot damage type thing, but the Kusarigama was still a lot of fun and definitely viable. Anyway, there we go. So that was my build. You saw my stats, you saw my basic gear, the Iga Ninja set. Make sure that you get the Iga Ninja sword and Kusarigama. Make sure you get those schematics from farming the Adept Ninja mission in the dojo, and then go with it. And remember, from here on out, level 64, from here on out, everything goes into Skill and Dex. I appreciate you watching. I hope you like this. Give me some feedback down below, and I will see you guys on the next one. Maybe we'll work on a dual swords build. Till then, y'all take care, and take it easy. Bye-bye.